All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Neutral Zone. It is episode 31 of our live series. I'm not even sure if on our
How do you be knowing it? Like,
because
how
I
do
have
you?
it. I title it every time.
Oh, I was like, what the?
Yeah.
Like, they better be counting.
No, I title every time. But episode 31 of the live series. This is our first live show. Or I guess it's the second live show of the 2024 season. We did one last week, kind of talking about Florida State. But obviously, week one, predicting games for this upcoming week. Tomorrow's games. I know there's a few games happening right now, and Oklahoma's up right now. Yesterday, we had a few games. We had the Colorado game, which we'll talk about briefly. But the majority of the show, what's going on, Trey? The majority of the show today is going to be breaking
What up,
down
Trey?
all the games for tomorrow. I don't like the way that looks, actually.
You don't like the way what looks?
You want to do that one?
This man trying to make the comments look cute. I like your dog, Trey. What type of dog is that?
I don't. Get rid of that thing.
You don't like the dog? Damn, that's a dog.
That's Tulane, by the way.
That's some cold-blooded shit. You don't like the mad dog?
Now we be in the mic and his dog is always scaring us. Like, out of nowhere, he'd just be barking. But yeah, so what we'll be doing is previewing all of the games, giving our score predictions, how we did last year, and then we're going to be going live on Sunday. We'll probably do the live on Sunday before the
400.
I was doing a workout.
Come on, bro. Buddy got P90X in the background. Come on, bro.
I tried to bring up my iPad, and it's funny because it was insanity. You know what I'm saying? I gotta, you know what I'm saying? Stay. You know what I'm saying? As you get a little bit older, you got to work on it. You got to grease the groove, as they say.
But yeah, so we'll probably go live on Sunday before the USC LSU game, so that way we can kind of go over the rest of the Saturday games and then
absolutely
talk about that one. Let me see. So let's get into kind of what are your thoughts? Obviously, Colorado, North Dakota State yesterday. What are your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, so right up front, obviously, I think the people that we thought that were going to look good. Levante Bentley, Jimmy Horn, Travis Hunter obviously had an exceptional game. Shedeur had a really good game. But I think Colorado also showed where they're going to have problems this year. I don't think the line played exceptionally great. North Dakota State were able really to push them around, especially with their offensive line. The Cam Miller, the quarterback, seemed to be able to break some runs, keep some drives going. North Dakota State was in this game. And again, an FCS team should not be playing with a power at the Division I level. So, yeah, I think this is probably indicative of exactly what we're going to get from Colorado this season. They're really going to have to count on Shedeur and Travis to really carry them. They didn't do great running the ball. I think they were under 4 yards per carry. And again, I had high hopes for Dallin Hayden. I was hoping that going to Colorado, him getting to get a good number of carries, he was really going to break out. That didn't seem to be the case. But I'll also say, I don't think that offensive line had road graders really making big holes. And again, I'm going to say this again. If you can't really do that against North Dakota State, I have concerns as you play in what should be a very competitive Big 12 this year. So I think for everybody, this was probably a reminder to temper your expectations a little bit, right? This is not a team that I think is going to compete for a Big 12 title. Again, I think the ceiling for them, just based off of what we've seen in this game, what they should be looking for is a bowl game. They should be looking to get the 6-win mark and get a bowl game. But again, I don't think they're ready to compete in the Big 12. I think they still have some depth issues. They still have some issues in the trenches. And I think they're going to have a lot of problems as they get into that Big 12 schedule. What was your takeaways?
So those of you guys who don't know, I bet $80 on Colorado to cover a touchdown, and they did not cover a touchdown. They lost by 5. And again, I've been a Colorado.
They didn't lose by 5. They won by 5.
I'm sorry, 1 by 5. I've been a Colorado disagreeer. I'll say that. Sterling said run game was sus, pass protection was there, and again, the defense make a below the comp team look like a bonfire. But great game by Shedeur, Jimmy, and Travis. I agree, but so I want to say you hit on everything, except I think not only is there, holes in this team, but I think coaching kind of showed.
I agree.
They, in all reality, people can say this is a hot take. They should have lost that game. I'm not gonna say they deserve to lose the game, but at the end of the game, you're trying to salt away a win. It's 1st and 10 with under 2 minutes left, and you're throwing a deep bomb, and the other team only has one timeout. Why are you throwing a bomb on 1st and 10?
Well, a lot of people were saying, and again, this is to your point, but I will also say this is why I probably would not send my kid to Colorado to play with a guy whose son is the quarterback. They were saying that he was trying to get Shedeur 500 yards.
Yeah, I mean, that's just ridiculous. When you look at the team stats, kind of stat by stat or side by side, North Dakota State really beat them in almost every statistical category. They had more time in possession, more rushing yards. They had more first downs. They had less incompletions. The quarterback went 20 for 20 or 18 for 22, only 4 incompletions.
Yeah.
He didn't turn the ball over. Better yards per carry. The only thing they didn't do better was pass yards and total yards, but they still had 450 total yards. And I think at the end of the game, when you're throwing the ball, when you're trying to salt away, when I understand you didn't run the ball effectively, you only averaged 2.6 yards per carry. But at the end of the day, you're essentially giving them an opportunity to come back and win the game.
That's a fact.
And again, you're not going to be able to do that against a Kansas, an Arizona, a Utah, an Oklahoma State. You're just not going to be able to do that against those kind of teams, against a Nebraska next week. So I just think that was really poor coaching. In a chat that we're in, a guy said Deion Sanders isn't calling the plays. When you're under 2 minutes and you're winning a game, the head coach is calling what's being played.
Or should be. Now,
Yeah,
he may not be, but he should be.
Like and I understand he may not call, he's going to run a jet sweep or inside zone, but everyone watching that game knows they should not have been throwing the ball.
Like the head coach, because they threw a couple of passes. So after the first one, I'll allow the first one to kind of be hey, the Deion wasn't calling it. Deion should have went over to the OC. Should have. I'm assuming he has the ability to talk to Shedeur as well. He should have said, "Do not throw another pass."
Yeah, I agree. Guinea pig. After what I saw yesterday, I don't think so either. I probably have this team going 6-6.
Yeah,
like best case scenario. Sterling says he said that Shedeur made the decision to throw because he was trying to involve Wester. I mean, I just think there's a time and a place for that.
But
You're
again,
gonna win the game. Why are you throwing the ball?
I'm not that Shedeur's a 22-year-old, 21, 22-year-old quarterback. I will give you a pass on the first pass. I'll give you a pass. Hey, Shedeur, audible, whatever. The second one, again, head coach, especially being the dad, should have been in that headset or with the OC and say, do not throw another pass. Do not throw another pass.
Yeah, so I mean, overall, they got the win. That's all that matters. They won the game. Yeah. There's no pictures on the score. So at the end of the day, they won the game 31-26, and they move on to 1-0. I'm excited to watch the Nebraska game next week. I think that's going to be a good game. Obviously, Dylan Raiola was named the starter. You get to go against another team that has 4- and 5-star talent. So I'm going to be excited. And obviously, they're going to Lincoln. So Nebraska's not coming to Colorado this time around. So Nebraska have home field advantage.
There's going to be a revenge factor there, right? Obviously, Colorado beat them last year. I think Nebraska's going to want their get back.
But moving on. So obviously, what we're doing today, we're going to be going over all of the top 25 games, the ones that are remaining for week 1. Obviously, a few yesterday and some today, but the ones that are remaining for week 1, including Monday and then Sunday's game.
Sunday night. Sunday night is the USC LSU game. Monday night is the Florida State Boston College game.
Yes, we're going to go over both of those as well, and we'll stop. We're not going to go by time. We're going to go by rankings. So we're going to go from the highest 25 all the way down to 1. So the first game, Illinois State versus Iowa. How do you see this game going? I know Illinois State doesn't have much to talk about, but
yeah, I'm excited to see Cade McNamara with his Iowa offense. Obviously, he got hurt, but if you remember, he was the Michigan quarterback 2 years ago. Was pretty good. Obviously, kept JJ McCarthy on the bench. Was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago? Iowa's going to play good defense. I think the coach is suspended. For instance, suspended for this game.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think he had a recruiting violation. So I think he's self-suspended for this game. But Iowa's going to play good defense. They play sound. They're going to be where they're supposed to be. Again, you obviously should beat up on Illinois State. So Yeah, I suspect that this is going to. I'm not going to suspect that this game is going to get ugly, but I think ugly for Iowa is probably 35-0.
Yeah, I have it 34-3. I think it's going to be and I know this isn't a low scoring game, but I think when you're playing against a team like Illinois State, any other top 25 team would run the score up ridiculously. So I think I would say 34-3 is reasonable. I don't think I was going to score 60 points. Now, if this was Oklahoma versus Illinois State, Oklahoma might score 70 points. So
Right.
just a style make fight kind of thing. So I have Iowa winning 34-3. But the next game, New Mexico, Arizona, same concept. Obviously, New Mexico is more of a struggle than Illinois State is, but I think Arizona is going to have a really good offense with Fafita, McMillan. Obviously, you lost Jeff Fish to Washington, so there's going to be a bit of a learning curve, I'll say. So the people who are just now getting to know Arizona, because last year they really weren't a household name early in the year until later on. So I still think Arizona gets the job done. I have them winning 37-13. And I think Arizona definitely players for the Big 12 title this year.
Yeah. The fact that you bring back, again, just like you mentioned, McMillan, your top receiver, a guy who went over 1,400 yards last year, and Fafita, who really took a handle of that starting quarterback job from Delora. I think this offense is going to pop. Yep, like you mentioned, they lost their coach up to Washington. I want to see what this looks like. But again, if they maintain that chemistry they had last year, they should look really good. New Mexico lost last week, so I don't have high hopes for them in this game. I think Arizona actually runs up the score a little bit. I think where they're really good, they're going to show. So I have this game 44-17.
Alrighty, I'll let you do the number 19 Miami versus Florida matchup. My first matchup on here that's I'm really excited for.
Yeah, this is going to be a really good game. If you guys look at that Florida schedule, it is nasty, especially that back end. There are people thinking that this may be a 3-9, 4-18, but week one, none of that matters. I think both teams are going to be fired up. This game is in the swamp, and the swamp is going to be rocking. And there's some chemistry things, right? Cam Ward, I think, is a sensational quarterback. But you're talking about a guy who did not play with these wide receivers last year. I think still, though, that they're going to be able to. They just have a little bit more talent with Restrepo. I think that's how you say his name. Restrepo, same guy. You know what I'm talking about. At wide receiver. The talent is there. I think they have a big, strong offensive line, and they've done very good recruiting in the trenches. Florida, Graham Mertz, I think, is actually a very serviceable quarterback, but you lose ETN. You lose a lot of your skill players from last year who meant a lot. And again, I think you have a gauntlet of a schedule. I think this is kind of where it starts. I have Miami, but I have it maybe a little bit closer than most people. I have it 35-28.
So I think Miami's going to win this game as well. I think Miami has one of the best rosters in the ACC. Obviously, they have a lot of chemistry that needs to be built throughout the season. They don't play a team like Clemson. They do play Florida State. And I think Florida State's in the same situation as far as chemistry goes. We saw them struggle last week against Georgia Tech in Dublin. But I like Miami a lot. I think they have one of the best receiving cores in the ACC. I think Cam Ward is the best quarterback in the ACC at this point. Defensively, they should be solid. The offensive line is experienced. Damian Martinez, in my opinion, is right behind Amari and Hampton in the ACC as far as running back goes. So
I agree.
I have Miami winning 24-20. I think this is going to be a really good game.
So you have it close.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. I think, with it being in the swamp, I think it's going to play a major factor. It's the first game in one of the most hostile environments in college football. With a team that doesn't have any on-field real game scenario chemistry. So I think that's going to play a factor. It's not like we're looking at a Jordan Travis where he was there for 5 years. Like Cam Ward, This is his first time suiting up as a Hurricane. So I think it's going to play a factor. But I have Miami pulling it off 24-20. Moving on to our next game, another game that's, not too much to talk about. UT Martin versus Kansas State. I have Kansas State winning 41-7. Another team in the Big 12. Again, it's going to be like another narrative kind of thing this year where the Big 12 is wide open, but I think another team that can, fight for the Big 12 title. They're not one of my favorites, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were in the game at the end of the year. but I have them handling business week 1 by 34 points.
Yeah, let me say, if you play college football 25 and you happen to play in the Big 12, you probably know DJ Giddens is a load, especially if you play on a halfway decent level. I like what this team has with Giddens, with Avery Johnson. I think they're going to be pretty good. Obviously, Will Howard left and went to Ohio State as the starting quarterback. But I think this team has good talent to at least make some noise in the Big 12. Obviously, UT Martin, that's one of those warm-up games. So this is a game that should be really no sweat. I have this game 42-7.
Okay, moving on. Oklahoma State versus South Dakota State. You got this one first.
Yeah, I talked about Oklahoma State in, I think, our conference winners video. I have Oklahoma State winning the Big 12. Right now, there's a number of good teams. Number of what I'm going to put them at is good but not great teams in the Big 12. I think there are a bunch of very good teams. I think Oklahoma State falls into that group, and I think they're going to be kind of the king of the good teams. Obviously, we know Ollie Gordon and what he's going to do, what he did last year. I think he's going to be a big-time running back again this year. I think he's going to be the guy that they really count on. And again, against South Dakota State, remember this is South Dakota State, not North Dakota State. They should easily win this game. So I have this a little bit bigger. I'm going to go 49-10.
Okay. I know they're playing South Dakota State and they're not playing North Dakota State, but I think it's the same concept as the Colorado game. They're only a 10-point favorite in this game. Colorado was a 10-point favorite yesterday. I do expect Oklahoma State to win the game, but okay. I do think it's going to be tough sledding. I don't know if you can just lean on Ollie Gordon for all 4 quarters. Outside of Ollie Gordon, I don't really feel comfortable with anybody else on this team. Now, I still think they're a more talented team than South Dakota State is, so I do favor them. But I do have the game a lot closer to you. I have it 31-17, Oklahoma State. So I have them winning by 14. But I think the good part about Oklahoma State is I don't think they're going to have coaching lulls like Colorado did. I think, Mike Gundy is a very good coach and he's an experienced coach. Yeah. So he's not going to have the same kind of brain farts, and lapses of judgment when the time matters or when the game, calls for it. So I do think Oklahoma State's going to take care of business and win by 2 possessions against South Dakota State. Chattanooga versus Tennessee. A game, again, not much to talk about, but I am excited to see how Nico looks in this game.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is his year now. He played a little bit in the bowl game last year, obviously, but that's not the same magnitude as an entire season. So excited to see how he looks. I have him winning 63-10. I don't think it's going to be a close game. I think the running game is going to be good. One of the more experienced wide receiver groups in all of college football. I think is going to help Nico. And I just think defensively, they're going to force turnovers. I think they're going to lean heavily on the ground game. And I think with Josh Heupel's offense, they're going to put up a lot of points. I don't see this game being very close. Then again, last year, I do know Tennessee struggled against a bad team early in the year. But I just don't think it's going to happen again, especially not in Neyland Stadium and not with, I guess, so much of the narrative and storyline surrounding around Nico.
Yeah, I really want to see Nico too, especially like you mentioned, and the Josh Heupel offense. Now, we saw him in the bowl game against Iowa, but he only threw the ball 19 times. He went for just barely over 150 yards. I want to see them really open this up and really see what he can do as a passer. Obviously, we know he's a dual threat guy, so he can also move the chains with his feet. But I want to really see him as a passer, really see if he takes the reins of this offense. Now, again, we're talking about him against Chattanooga, so I don't think that this is going to be much of a challenge. But I think these are the type of games, especially for a young quarterback, where you really want to see them pop. You really want to see him do some things to gain some confidence, especially as a SEC quarterback. These are the type of games that he should dominate in. Again, just like Steven, I think they're going to do very well. I have this game 42-3.
Okay, moving on, we have USC versus LSU, another really good matchup, obviously the Sunday night game.
Yes. You want me to say? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a big game, especially when you talk about seeing who these teams are this year. Remember, the number 1 and number 2 pick in this year's draft came from these 2 teams. So we're seeing a new era for both USC and LSU. I would say my concern with USC last year was the defense. Lincoln Riley has proven year in and year out that he's going to be the quarterback whisperer. He's going to have Miller ready to play quarterback. But can he fix and have a serviceable defense on the field? Because LSU, on the other hand, just seems to have weapons. Every single year, they seem to have weapons. So, yes, they do not have Malik Neighbors. They don't have Jaden Daniels anymore. But whoever the next guys are, LSU probably has them. And they're probably 5-star freak athlete guys because they recruit those type of guys. So this is a neutral site game. But just based off of what we saw in terms of what's returning, I'm going to go LSU. I think this game is going to be close. I'm going to go 28-24. But I think the weapons that LSU has, what they're bringing back on defense, I got to go LSU until USC can prove that they got this defense looking serviceable. Now, I know you're a little bit higher on USC this year, so what's your thoughts?
So I am higher on USC. I don't think they're going to have a crazy year, but I think they win this game. I think this is going to be a very, very good game. And even though I don't put a lot of stock into the bowl game, Miller Moss looked amazing in that bowl game.
Yep.
And I understand it's a bowl game. People sat out. But at the end of the day, he still had to make plays. They bring back Zachariah Branch, who is one of the most explosive players last year for that team. So I think he's going to, take a step up when it comes to usage rate. I think the defense
is the lead receiver.
I think the defense is going to be a bit better. Now, again, that's, we've been saying that for 3 years now. They did retool the defensive coaching staff again. So I'm hoping, that kind of makes a jump. I have the game 38-34. I don't know if LSU can hold them to 24 points because that is what Lincoln Riley does. That's all he worries about is scoring. So if anything, I think if LSU beats them, it's going to be like a 52-45 type of game. It's going to be a high-scoring game regardless. I would be surprised if neither of these teams get into the 30s, just because I think with so much lost on both sides of the ball, and I understand LSU still has Harold Perkins, who in my opinion is one of the best defensive players in college football. They lost Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas. I think that's a very big loss, and I understand, like you said, they're going to recruit heavy, but I just think I probably trust more in the USC offense than I do in the LSU offense right now. Because based off of what I've seen out of Miller Moss.
Okay, I respect it.
So Fatal Jedi, what's up, guys? Thought I had missed the show. You definitely didn't miss the show. And we're going to talk about your team next, luckily. So
look at that, perfect timing.
Moving on, Boston College, FSU. Jedi, I want to know what you thought about that game last week. And if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Fatal Jedi, we had a bet from the last show. I'm going to go back and watch it. But I'm pretty sure it was who makes it farther, and it was Florida State and another person. Unless I'm tripping, I'm pretty sure it was you, Fatal Jedi. So I'm going to go back and watch the show. But we had a bet, and I think it might have been a $20 bet. I don't know, but it was a bet, and we bet because I didn't think Florida State was going to make it far. It was something like that. Let me know, Jedi. I know you remember. Yeah, what was the bet? I don't remember. I have to go back and look. But I want to know how you feel about that game last week. Talking about their game this week, obviously, playing Boston College. Florida State did not look great last week. We talked about it before. But I expect a completely different team this week.
Yeah.
I expect Florida State to come out swinging, guns a-blazing. I think the offense is going to look a lot different. Then the defense is going to come with a chip on the shoulder with a lot of things circulating because they thought this was the best defense in the ACC. And now, I don't know if you saw, but the odds in the ACC changed crazy. Like as far like they were like plus 270, I think, to win the ACC. Now they're like plus 600, tied with like third place. Clemson is now the favorite to win the ACC. And that wasn't obviously before the Georgia Tech game. So I'm excited to see how they look this week. I think the passing game has to look better. The running game has to look better. They have to be able to let DJ throw the ball down the field. And I think with Boston College being one of the worst teams in the ACC expected in this season, I think this is the perfect chance to do that in Tallahassee. The game was simply disappointing. The team as a whole were the Walking Dead. No will to win it all. But yeah, Dad, how do you feel like this game's going? I have it 41-17, by the way.
41-17. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, 45-17. 45.
Let me say this. I think you made some very valid points in a lot of things I was going to say. I think Florida State is going to push the ball down the field. I think Florida State is going to look. Oh, it was $20. Florida State is going to look to open that offense up a lot earlier. I think you're still going to see the horizontal passes, but I think you're going to see a bunch of vertical passes as well. They're going to look to get up and down the field because I think DJ looked halfway decent in that. And I think with a team like Boston College, you can probably out-athlete them with some of the receivers that you brought in. But Boston College is no slouch. Again, I don't think they're going to play with Florida State. I think Florida State is going to look to rough them up. But Boston College isn't a bad team. So if there are still the issues in the trenches, this game may be much closer than people anticipate. If just like Georgia Tech was able to run over this again, as if you guys watched Game Day, they were talking about this being one of the best front fours or front sevens in college football. Boston College is going to saw that game too. They saw the tape too. So I'm sure they're going to look to test these guys. I have this game. I'm not going to call it close, but I don't have it necessarily as big as you. I have it 31-14.
Alrighty, moving on. Fresno State versus number 9 Michigan. You got this one first.
Yeah, I think Michigan is going to come out to make a statement. Listen, they are still Michigan. And I think with a new coach who was the OC, Moore was the OC last year, they're going to look to play Michigan-style football. They still got a big offensive line, albeit not the same guys they had last year. Donovan Edwards is still a home run hitter. And I think for a lot of guys, a lot of teams, they're going to be able to just out-physical them. So I think this is going to be ugly, nasty. They don't have Roman Wilson over the top. They have Alex Orji, who is a dual threat guy. There's some concerns about his ability to pass, but he's a freak athlete. So I think when you put him behind this a big offensive line in a run-dominated game, they're going to be okay. Michigan still has two of the best college football defenders in the game. So I think they're still going to be able to handle Fresno State. I think this is going to be an ugly, muddy game. And you're going to see Michigan's brand of football this year, which is going to be very heavy on the run. So I got this game 28-10.
Okay. As you were explaining that, I thought you were going to have it a lot more than that. So you have it 28-10. I have it 34-17, which is like the same amount. I mean, it's just different. But I think this game is going to come down to their defense. I think they might have a defensive touchdown here or there. I think the offense is going to look bad, though. I don't think the offense is going to look great. I think they're going to lean heavily on Donovan Edwards because I don't think Alec Orji can throw the ball down the field. Until he shows me that he can do that, I just don't think he can. And they may go the first 4 weeks, or they play Texas obviously soon. They may go this game without having to do it, like in the Penn State matchup last year where they ran the ball 20 times in a row.
Literally starting at the second half.
Yeah, so it may be a situation like that, but that Texas matchup, he's going to have to throw the ball to win. So
that's a fact.
I would assume they try to let him do it a little bit this game. I don't think Fresno State is a poor team, but they just don't have the talent Michigan does, even though Michigan has a complete roster haul from last season. So I still think Michigan's going to win the game, but I do have Michigan taking a step back this year, but I have them winning 34-17.
Okay.
Another Big Ten power, I guess we'd say, Penn State versus West Virginia. I don't know why people think this game is going to be close. I understand it's in Norman or in Normantown. I'm not sure what it's called. Is it called
Morgantown?
Morgantown. I don't know why. I don't know why they are like. It's almost like they think Morgantown is Beaver Stadium. Like that's it, to me. That's the vibe I'm getting. Is like, and I understand no disrespect to West Virginia fans because I understand like college football is big in any like we went to Washington State fans. It's not how it is in Clemson. Like it's just that simple. So I think Penn State is a far more talented and deep team than West Virginia is. I think West Virginia has a good offense, but I think Penn State has an elite offense and an elite defense. So the air raid attack for Penn State, we have to see how that's going to go. But between Katron Allen and Nick Singleton and the offensive line Penn State has, I don't think West Virginia is going to be able to stop the run. So I think in that case, I have the game somewhat close. The score is close, but I don't think it's going to be close at any point. I have it 41-27. It's only 14 points, but I think that Penn State is going to get in control of the game early, and it will never be in question. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, let me say this. If you were sleeping on this Penn State team, this is one of the teams as an Ohio State fan that I have concerns about. You mentioned the dual-headed monster they have in that backfield. Drew Aller, if you look at his numbers, had a heck of a season last year. You got Abdul Carter, and James Franklin is going to have a good defense. So this is going to be a very good defensive team. I think this Penn State team, really outside of maybe the receiving core, is a solid team at every single category. They're a tough team. They are a team to be concerned with. I don't think West Virginia is that. I don't think West Virginia is a pushover, but I think I have West Virginia as kind of a 7-5, 6-6, maybe 8-4 team. I think Penn State is a playoff team, and I think they show that in week one. I think this team is, like I said, about as solid and well-rounded as any team in college football. And I think they're going to make a run for the playoffs. I have this one 42-10.
Okay, moving on, we have the next game is the Notre Dame A&M game. You got that one.
Yeah, so this is a game I'm very excited to see.
Me too.
I think we can start with Riley Leonard, and I want to see what that looks like, especially for Notre Dame, where it didn't seem to really work with Sam Hartman last year. So can I just plug a quarterback in with this team and make it work? I think that Notre Dame defense is going to be tough. Notre Dame is a tough defense under Marcus Freeman. And we know what they bring back with Morrison and some of the guys. And that's funny, Guinea Pig, because I have it 24-14 because I have some concerns about Texas A&M. At the end of the day, I think we keep giving a pass to Texas A&M as an elite team, but I don't think they've proven it. And a bunch of the guys they had previous, that big 5-star top recruiting classes, a bunch of those guys have left. Again, not to say they don't have guys. I think they have Kellerman back. So they have players, but I need Texas A&M to show me that they can beat a top 10 team. So I have, just like shown there, I have Notre Dame winning this game 24-14.
I think this game is going to be very physical.
Yes.
I'm excited. Obviously, I'm excited for the Clemson game the most, but I'm excited for this game probably the second most. I think this is going to be a defensive game. I think both offenses are going to struggle, but I think the reason why they're going to struggle is because both defenses are very good. I think Notre Dame is going to have a top 5 defense this year. Ben Morrison is a top 5 corner, in my opinion. So I think when you look at kind of the style of play from both teams, Notre Dame is a ground and pound team. We saw with Audric Estime. Yep. Obviously, they have Love this year, so it's a different kind of back. But they lose Merriweather. They lose Tyree. So Jaden Greathouse does come back after a freshman year. So I think he's going to be like the number 1 or number 2 guy. They bring Bo Collins over. So I don't know. I'm excited.
Bo Collins is about to pop, baby.
I'm excited for this game. I have Notre Dame winning 24-20. But it was a hard game for me to predict because I think Kyle Field is, if it's not the top 3, they're a top 5, environment. And when you have that type of fan base, and again, same situation as Cam Ward with a quarterback in a new system. And again, it's not as kind of extreme as Miami because Miami doesn't run the ball at the level of Notre Dame does. And Riley Leonard is not going to throw the ball as much as Cam Ward is going to throw the ball. So it's probably going to do with less checking and, audibles and stuff like that. So it'll probably have less of an impact, but it's still going to have an impact. And I think Texas A&M being all the talent they have, Mike Elko facing his former quarterback in Riley Leonard. I think it's going to be a really good game. So, but I have Notre Dame winning 24-20. But I think it can go either way. It's one of the most exciting games. But moving on, we have Furman against Ole Miss. I don't have much to say about this game. I have them winning 70-13. I think it's going to be a blowout. Ole Miss, to me, is going to have one of the most explosive offenses.
Yeah, I really want to see Ulysses Bentley as the number 1 back. Obviously, Quinshon Judkins went to Ohio State. That's the only thing to say here. Like you mentioned, this is one of those games. I would tell you I have it 50-7. But this is whatever number passed. I think this is a game where Ole Miss is going to try to just tune some things up. Show everybody that they're going to be a power this year. Lane Kiffin is a great offensive coach. Jackson Dart is going to be flinging the ball all around. But this is a game that I suspect they're going to have starters out at halftime.
Moving on, you got Western Kentucky, Alabama.
Yeah, so I want to see. We talked a lot in this offseason about Kalen DeBoer. I think he runs a little bit more of a wide open offense than maybe Nick Saban ran, and I think some of that could play to Jalen Milroe a little bit better. Spreading teams out is obviously going to give them clear running lanes. Again, Western Kentucky, this is not a game where you're going to really see the full power of that. But this is where you'll start to see just what an Alabama offense is going to look like under Kalen DeBoer. So I'm actually very interested to see that. Again, this is another game that I have 50-7 because they should beat Western Kentucky pretty bad.
Yeah, I have it 56-14. Jalen Milroe is one of my favorites for Heisman this year. I think it's going to, like you said, it's going to help him a lot being in the Kalen DeBoer offense. Now, the only thing is Michael Penix is not mobile like Jalen Milroe is, so I don't know how he's going to look because there wasn't a bunch of QB, design run plays for Penix last year. So, obviously, Milroe doesn't have the arm talent that Michael Penix has. He can't make those same type of throws. So the situations that Penix was in that he flashed his greatness is not going to be the same situations that Milroe is going to flash his greatness. So I'm excited to see how it kind of looks. But I think this team is going to be just as good. If you guys saw last week or whenever, I predict Alabama to win the national championship this year. And people think I'm crazy for that, but I just think they have a lot of talent. And I think I could coach that damn team and they'd win 10 games. So, at the end of the day, I think they're going to be really good. But moving on, Colorado State versus Texas. Another blowout to me. I have it 48-17. Nothing much to say. I think Texas is one of the most complete teams.
Yeah, Colorado State has no chance in this game. Let's just be honest. I think this is one of those games where Texas is, just like you said. I was going to try to say something nice. They do have Horton, who's a very good receiver. Yeah. But I think this is one of those games where you're going to see Arch Manning get some playing time shortly after halftime. Again, no knock to Colorado State, but I have this game 49-14.
Idaho versus Oregon. You got it.
Yeah, again, I want to see, and just again, as we kind of talk about the transfer portal, a lot of these situations, I just want to see the quarterbacks and the chemistry with their new teams. Obviously, Dillon Gabriel now at Oregon. I don't think this is going to be much of a game, but this is a game that, again, as an Ohio State fan, as a person going to the Oregon game against Ohio State, this is a game I want to see just how Dillon Gabriel looks with those wide receivers. So another one of those 49-3 games where Oregon should really have their starters out at halftime.
Yeah, I have it 56-3, so I have it about the same. Edgar, I don't know if I ever said that. I don't think I did, because I don't know if I ever made a prediction. If I did, I'd probably just switch my prediction, because I probably said it in the offseason at some point. But I have it 56-3, the Oregon game. The next game we have Ohio State, Akron, another game I feel like we're just gonna see the starters out pretty early. I have it 63-3. I do want to see how Will Howard looks throwing the ball in the first half, but I think the biggest storyline in this game is I want to see how Jeremiah Smith looks. I'm very excited to see how he looks, even if they play a high school. Like I just want to see what there's so much hype. He's starting, so I'm excited to see how he looks in this game, even though he's going against lower opposition. I just want to see kind of what the hype is about, in this matchup.
So very much like you. I think this Ohio State team is poised for a national championship run if Will Howard looks legit as the quarterback. So that is, as I am tuning in as an Ohio State fan, that is what my eyes are on. How does Will Howard look as a starting quarterback? Because listen, just like Stephen did with DJU. I will be quick to call for Julian Sayin or Aaron Nolan or Devin Brown or one of the other quarterbacks to come take the start if Will Howard doesn't have this offense moving, especially with that Oregon game a couple weeks down the way. If he does not look great right off the bat, I'm going to be one of those Ohio State fans calling for him to get the hook. I have this game 56-0. I think that Ohio State team is loaded. Again, another game where I suspect that the starters will be out early. But I am tuning in, obviously as an Ohio State fan, but I'm tuning in to see Will Howard.
Alrighty, you got the last one, the number one team.
Now, this is a game I do not, for the life of me, understand why Clemson keeps taking these games in Atlanta. Wait.
You know, it's crazy. The first game wasn't in Atlanta. It was in Charlotte. I just found that out yesterday. I didn't realize
Oh, I
that.
didn't know that.
Yeah, it was in Charlotte. I just realized that.
Well, they need to bounce these back and forth a little bit more. So that is where I have concern because, being honest, and South Carolina is not super far from Atlanta, but I suspect that this is going to be a 75% Georgia crowd, and the crowd's going to be rocking. I have some concerns about Georgia. We, I think, are given benefit of the doubt, and it's well deserved, to Kirby Smart. We are given benefit of the doubt to Carson Beck as the wide receiver. But they've lost a lot of what made them great last year, especially offensively. We are, and by we, I mean the college football fans and pundits, are being vastly disrespectful to who Dabo Swinney is. I've said this most of the offseason, and his ability to coach. I believe that Clemson team has been listening, has been hearing, has been preached to about the disrespect that this team is getting. The fact that literally nobody has given them a chance. And you know, in the last 10 years, I'm going to go, let me think, 10 years, there are very few games where you're like, Clemson doesn't have a chance. So this is a game where I want to see that fire. I want to see Klubnik take the next step in being that 5-star number one quarterback that we suspected, right? I want to see who steps up as the Clemson number one wide receiver. This has been an area to me where they've had problems for the last couple of years. I think the Clemson defense is going to play amazing. I think they're going to show Carson Beck something he hasn't seen. Remember, you didn't play Clemson defense last year. And I think that on the flip side, Kirby Smart is going to play this very reserved. He's going to try to put Carson Beck in non-pressure situations. They're going to try to use the run game. They're going to try to play physical. Because of that, I think this is going to be a very low-scoring game. Now, I'm not going to pick the shock the world that Stephen May. I think Georgia pulls it off, but I think this game is much closer than people think. And I think this game comes down to the final possession. I have it 27-24 Georgia. I give them a little bit of an edge because of the great recruiting classes. Kirby Smart is a great coach, but I think Clemson makes this a game and puts their name back on the map for the rest of the season as somebody we have to talk about in that national championship picture.
So my turn. So
your turn.
We did the Clemson and the Georgia preview. Well, everyone here saw I picked against Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a change. I have Clemson winning the game. I'm going to give my prediction in a second, and I'm going to break down why. I know Guinea Pig is probably going to, and Edgar probably Fatal Jedi are going to say I'm being biased. I think the reason why Clemson wins the game, for one, it's week one. So the last time we played Georgia in week one, we lost 10-3 on a pick six that was tipped in the air, or it was like very juggled pick six. We lost the game. Cool, whatever. Our defense played lights out. We didn't give up a touchdown against the Georgia offense, and they won the national championship game that year. I think when you look at our roster from top to bottom, I don't think we are explosive on offense. I don't think this is the best defense Clemson has had in a while. But I also don't think.
Wait a minute, hold on, because I think this might be one of the best secondaries Clemson has had in a long time.
It's hard because they're unproven, but I think when you look at Georgia, the fact that ETN is a suspicion he's not going to play, the fact that their backup running back is suspicion he's not going to play, and the reason that gives me confidence in this game is Kirby Smart and Dabo are playing real chess right now. Neither team has put out a depth chart, and we are 12 hours away from kickoff.
Yeah.
So that shows me that something is going on in Georgia that they don't want out, that they don't want Clemson to know. And what Dabo's doing is, okay, you're not going to put your depth chart out. I'm not going to put mine out either,
right,
as a way to kind of respond. So I think what's going to end up happening is, could Georgia win by 21? Yes. Could Clemson? I don't think so. So I'm not saying I think this game has to be a razor-thin game and it can go either way. I think realistically Georgia can win by 21 points. Do I foresee that happening? No, because I've only seen Clemson get blown out a handful of times. And every time I've seen Clemson get blown out, and I don't even consider the Duke-Clemson game last year a blowout because of the fashion in which we lost.
Yeah.
But games like the LSU championship game, to me, that's a blowout. The few times I've seen Clemson get absolutely stretched up and down the field, the passing game and they had elite quarterbacks. I understand Carson Beck is supposed to be elite, but I don't think he's seen a defense like this. And the one time he did, he lost in an Alabama defense last year. So I think Kirby Smart and Carson Beck, they understand what kind of defense Clemson plays. Clemson doesn't play a lot of zone. They run a lot of man, and they pressure the hell out of the quarterback. Mm-hmm. I don't think Carson Beck, after he gets punched in the mouth a few times in that first possession or the first quarter, he's going to be playing like we think he's a Heisman quarterback. I don't see it happening. I think our front seven is very deep. I think whoever can run the ball more effectively is going to win the game. And even though Etienne and Robinson, I think his name is, or whoever the backup running back is not playing, I still favor Georgia's backfield over Clemson's backfield over Phil Maffa. I still do, because I think the offensive line is way better than Clemson. So I think when you put a 4 or 5 star running back in the backfield, they don't have to be the number one player in the country to make plays. So I think they're still going to be able to run the ball effectively. What I not Clemson for is Cade Klubnik. I've been beating this like a dead horse for the past year and a half. I don't think Cade Klubnik is a great quarterback, but we saw him. I'm sorry, guinea pig clips. We saw them beat Notre Dame last year in Notre Dame style of play. I was in the damn stadium for that. They gave Phil Maffa the ball 35 times in that game.
Yeah.
And they won the game as if Phil Maffa was Audric Estime. And they slowed the Notre Dame offense down. Cade Klubnik didn't have to throw the ball over the field. He had a decent game, but Phil Maffa was the workhorse. The only difference is when you look at the backfield for Clemson this year, there's no Shipley, but there was no Shipley in the Notre Dame game either. So people can't say, well, there's no Shipley, because we won a big time game without him last year. Now, I don't like our backup running backs, but at the end of the day, I think what's going to come down to is, can Cade Klubnik do the little things, just manage the game? I have them winning 23-21. I think we're going to score 2 touchdowns, and we're going to kick 3 field goals, and we're going to hold them to 3 touchdowns. I was winning 23-21. I bet $330 in this damn game. It'll win me back $2,000. I paired it with like Oklahoma State or something like that.
Yeah. The backup is Roderick Robinson, the Georgia running back.
No. Who's the second string?
Roderick Robinson.
He's not playing. Who's the third string?
Oh, I don't know who the third string is.
The second string running back has a messed up knee. He had surgery.
Oh, yeah. Roderick Robinson is out. Etienne's probably out.
So it's Cash Jones, the white running back, and I think it's like Braylon Johnson or Braylon Robinson or something.
Bronson Robinson.
Okay, yeah. I think him and Cash Jones would be the 2 backs. So like I said, we'll have to see. I like our chances. I really do. Again, week 1, no film on either team. Yeah. In my opinion, now this could be a hot take. Let's go ahead and start bold predictions right now, because this is a bold take. I think Dabo is a better coach than Kirby Smart.
Ooh.
So if we're talking about scheme for scheme, I think he can outcoach Kirby Smart. The fact there is now, I'm not saying Clemson's a better team. I think Georgia is a better team than Clemson, but I think Dabo is a better coach than Kirby Smart. I think he's done it for a longer amount of time.
A hot take, unless just because of recency bias, maybe. But yeah. I think Dabo. I think if you're going to rank them, and again, as I said, in terms of my ranking the coaches going into this year, they'd be 1 and 2. So I know other people, other journalists, other sports media people may have that a little bit different. But I would say any smart college football fan who's being unbiased, you'd have to have them 1 and 2. They're the only 2 people coaching college football, I think, except for maybe Mac Brown, that have multiple championships.
Yeah, Kirby's going to make me. I mean, Kirby, if they're going to win, they're going to win. It's not because I said that. I mean,
yeah, let me say, look, I hope Kirby's watching this.
Let me be honest, though, Fatal Jedi. There's no reverse rat poison for Georgia at this point. It's not like, oh, well, they have all this hate, so they're going to be pumped up for the game. It's the complete opposite. Clemson is the team getting disrespected.
Now, my only concern in everything that has happened in the last couple of hours is if Georgia loses a close game, everybody's going to go back to, well, they lost their starting and backup running backs.
No, so I will say this. What's going to piss me off is if Clemson wins the game, but I would anticipate by the time kickoff comes, the line is going to keep getting closer.
Right.
It was at 14 points 24 hours ago, and now it's at 11. What I think is happening is they're starting to realize Clemson does have a chance in the game. So when Clemson wins, later in the year, they can try to make it seem like it wasn't a big win. If Clemson wins tomorrow, I promise you, anybody who's on my social media is going to have to mute me because I'm not going to shut up because of how much disrespect Clemson has got over the last 2 seasons. I am not going to shut up. And I'm not going to act like it's a national championship game because I'm not going to be surprised if we win. I'm picking us to win. I think we can compete with anybody in the country. Would I say, now, I'm not stupid. I wouldn't bet everything I own on Clemson tomorrow. Like, I'm not dumb. Georgia is the obvious, like, betting pick. They're the favorite. So I'm not saying put a gun to my head and pick a team. I'm going to pick Clemson. But I think Clemson has a chance to win the game. And I think we're going to shock a lot of people with what our defense is going to do to this offense. A lot of people talk about Carson Beck, but I don't think he's seen it. I think the front seven for Alabama was good last year. I think the front seven for Clemson is going to be the best front seven in college football this year. And we're going to show it immediately. So we'll just have to see, like I said. But bold prediction, to kind of get into this, I want to give, just off the top of your head, I have 3 bold predictions. I'll give my first one. My first bold prediction is that, and this might not be a bold prediction, we've had 10 or 11, however many national champions since the playoff started. I think we're going to get a new playoff champion this year. So it won't be Ohio State. It won't be Clemson. It won't be Alabama. It won't be Georgia, LSU.
Or just, one of the teams.
I think it's going to be it won't be Michigan. I think it's going to be a new team, like a Florida State, which I'm just
Oklahoma
naming
State,
Oklahoma, Oregon.
Oklahoma's up big.
So I think we're going to get a new champion that hasn't won a champion in the playoffs. This is my first bold prediction for the year.
My bold prediction is that by the end of the season, I think Julian Sagan is going to be the starting quarterback at Ohio State. I think much credit to Will Howard, but I think Julian Sagan, especially as he starts to get some reps, especially as he gets some playing time, I think he's going to take that position and hold it. I think he's a little bit more dynamic, especially throwing the ball. Will Howard is a big guy, but yeah, that's my first bold prediction, and I'm doing this literally off the cuff.
Okay, my second bold prediction is a bold one, to say the least. It is a very bold prediction.
Okay.
So right now, the top 5 in college football are. Hold on, let me pull up the top 5 so I don't butcher it, because I know obviously Georgia's 1, Ohio State is 3.
I know Georgia's 1, Ohio State, Oregon, Ole Miss I think is 6.
So Texas, Alabama, Texas, Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia.
Okay.
My bold prediction is at least one of those teams will not make the playoffs this year. That's my bold prediction.
Oh yeah, I don't even think that's crazy.
Well, I mean, you got to think based on the odds, it is, because I think.
Yeah, to say one of them no, I think yeah.
Well, I'll go all one up. I think one of the top 4. I won't even put Alabama. I think one of the top 4 won't make the playoffs. Between Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, and Texas, one of those teams will not make the playoffs, which means they would have to have lost 3 games in the regular season.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Realistically.
Let me think. I guess
I think it's going to be Georgia. Let me go ahead and say that now.
Oh, I mean, I can see Ohio State doing it. You got Penn State, who I think, especially in Beaver Stadium, that's going to be a tough game. Obviously, Oregon at Atson, so I can see that being a tough game. And then obviously the Michigan game. We'll see. We'll see. That would be fun. I'm gonna go the opposite of your statement, and I'm gonna say that I think, and not the opposite of the statement you just made, but opposite of a statement you made previously. This is my bold statement. I think Alabama doesn't make the playoffs.
Yeah,
at all.
I don't think that's bold because I think they're like supposed to finish third.
Win the national championship.
That's a bold statement though. A bold statement
Saying
is
Alabama won't make the playoffs isn't bold.
I don't think they're supposed to finish. I think 4th in the SEC, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, are they?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think their line is 9-3. I think they're only supposed to win 9 games.
Okay.
My final bold prediction is, and this is bold in capital letters, the darkest Sharpie you could find, underline, italics, you name it, whatever font you want to put it in. By the end of this season, there will be no more talk about Clemson needing to use the portal. Whatever happens, that will be a narrative that we will no longer talk about. And I don't think Clemson's going to win the national championship. I don't think they're going to make the national championship. I think we're going to make the playoffs, but I think we're going to show why going into the portal is not as a big deal as Paul Feinbaum, as Joel Klatt, as all these people who are in the mass media and college football make it seem. Because, like I said, I think when it comes down to it, if you have the roster full of 4 and 5 star, that's not really a prediction, because what is good? Like, I mean, 9 wins, 10 wins.
Good.
But yeah, I mean, I think by the end of the year, it will no longer be a conversation of, well, this is why they have to use the portal, because when we win 10, 11 games and make it to the second round of the playoffs, and people are still saying that, when you have a team like who I predicted, Georgia, who may not make the playoffs, what is going to be your excuse? Or a team like Florida State, better example, Florida State, who used the portal, what's the excuse going to be? So that's my bold prediction.
My last bold prediction, and this is in Super
Hold
Bowl.
on, Zach, what wager do you want to put on this?
Oh my goodness, here you go.
Because Zach, I know you personally, so let's make a wager. I'm willing to bet you. You're a North Carolina fan. I will bet you a North Carolina jersey of your choice versus a Clemson jersey of my choice.
All right, my last bold statement is, I think somebody that we're not even talking about is going to win the Heisman. I think so I would say at the beginning of last year, I don't think anybody was talking about Jaden Daniels winning the Heisman. I think
he was like 10th. He was like 9th or 10th for the starting preseason.
I think we all thought he was a pretty good quarterback, but I don't think we saw the year that he was going to have. I think there's somebody, and again, we know some of the names: Quinn Ewers, Dylan Gabriel, Travis Hunter, Shador, Jackson Dart.
Jalen Milroe.
Jalen Milroe, yeah. We know some of the names like that. I think it's going to be some Ollie Gordon. I probably will move out. I think it's going to be somebody that we're not talking about. My dark horse in this, I'm going to mention somebody that we just mentioned, is Drew Aller. I think Drew Aller. Why you look like that?
He's not winning the Heisman. They don't throw the ball enough.
I think Drew Aller could possibly, or some other. But again, if we're talking about a undefeated Penn State team and he's thrown 30 touchdowns, 3,500 yards, he turns the ball. I think he only threw 2 interceptions last year. I could see it. Again, maybe it's not Drew Aller. That's me going a little farther, but I think somebody that we're not even talking about, we're not even thinking about in terms of a Heisman, is going to be the guy who wins it.
You know who it might be, and I don't know if you could say people are talking about. I think it might be Fafita. It just depends how many games they're going to win. Yeah, but based on yesterday, though, I will find it if this holds and he continues to play like this.
Oh,
if Travis Hunter does not win the Heisman, and we had this conversation in the league chat. Yesterday was a crazy game offensively, but I think even if he
all but one offensive or defensive snap,
even if he doesn't have any eye-popping interception numbers, the fact he's playing on defense, and if he puts up numbers like he did yesterday offensively, let's say he's a top 5 receiver stat-wise, he will get my vote for Heisman. And I'm not a Colorado fan. And even if they only win 8 games because of the fact that what he will be doing.
I was going to say, that's the hard part. The thing, okay, somebody said 2 snaps. The hard part is, can he win the Heisman on, again, what I think we both are predicting is a 6-win team. 6, let's just, again, not to say maybe they do better. I know Zachary McDowell thinks they're going to do better. But if we're saying they're about a 6-7 win team, I don't think there's a shot. Even if he puts up over 1,000 yards and is a very good corner. We've only seen really one guy do it, and that was what, Lamar. And how many games did Louisville win that year?
No. Lamar and Jaden Daniels both did it.
What? How many did they were a double-digit win team?
They both won 10. They both won 10.
Okay,
yeah, but they both had 4 losses though. 10. I think they both had 4 losses.
But I don't think Colorado's touching 10. If Colorado gets the 10 wins this year, that's an amazing year. But yeah, I think he's a top 1, 2, 3 pick, but I think he's going to be hamstrung by. I think if he was on a team that was in the playoffs, then absolutely, because the guy's a freak athlete. I mean, an absolute freak athlete. But I think Colorado isn't going to be good enough for him to win the Heisman. You know who else? And we just mentioned it. Miller Moss might be.
Yeah, that's another one. But I think
one of the guys that we're not talking about.
I just think they're going to lose games too. But I would say as of right now, I think Travis Hunter, he's probably my favorite. Obviously, a lot of people haven't played yet though, so it's hard to say. But based on what I saw, it's going to be very hard for me to
Well,
like.
again, but you got to bet. I think wins losses come into play, and that's no knock to Travis Hunter.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. So like, until it would be one thing if it was week 7 and they were 3-3, I wouldn't be saying that. But at the end of the day, like I'm projecting them to lose, but they haven't lost yet.
No,
So it's like I understand they only won one game too. So like based on what I've seen, and he may get injured like he did last year, who knows? But like based on what I've seen, we haven't seen a lot of people play. Tomorrow, K Klubnik might throw for 500 yards, and my mind might change. But based on what I've seen,
over 500 yards, then yeah.
Based on what I've seen, I think Hunter has to. Zach said just looked at the schedule. They may not win the Big 12, but they're going to be competing for the Big 12 championship. Yeah, they're going to win like 6 games, bro. 6 or 7 games. But hey, I mean, best of luck to them. Hopefully they win more than 6 games because I wouldn't mind seeing Travis Hunter win the Heisman. That wouldn't bother me at all. But that's going to wrap up that's 1 hour. Going to wrap up our week 1 predictions. We're going to go live again on Sunday, recapping everything. If you guys haven't already, please subscribe, hit that notification bell, like the stream. It helps us kind of expand to other viewers. Thank you guys so much to the guys who stuck with us this far. Let us know also in the comment section what else you guys want us to talk about on these weekly shows. Obviously, we're going to do on Friday, Sunday for the next however long, 12, 13, 14 weeks. So,
yeah, we're back, baby.
So it's going to be fun, but we appreciate you guys, and we will see you guys on Sunday after the games. Peace out, everybody.